Okay, it is 8:30, and I'm going to begin with this open house. Welcome to Introduction to Criminal Law, J150. We will be, of course, convening for the next 11 weeks. And so I'm going to take time today, though, to just introduce and go over the parameters. Each of you should have received an email from me, and in the email you were given some details about who I am and so forth and so on. And let's see, make sure that you log in to audio. So okay, good. So once you log in the audio, then you'll be able to see me and hear me as well. You are going to, let's see, let me mute your mic. I just did. I see Ruby. You can turn off your camera. I'm going to turn that off because it'll use too much. Okay, let me. If you don't know how to turn it off, I will turn it off then. It's not going off. Okay. Let me do this. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Let's see if I can do
that. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh.
And I don't even know why I can hear you because I muted your mic, so your mic should be muted. So you might want to. You can mute your camera on your side. Just put the mouse on your camera. Do you see it? The little camera thing that's on the other side of the mic there. Or let's see.
Can you see? That's not working.
I don't know why it's not muting you. I shouldn't even be hearing you talk. Oh, okay, now I got it mute on entry. So now you shouldn't be able to hear me. I don't know how to kill your camera on your side, but anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get started because we got a lot of material to cover in the next hour. Let's see, I know how to stop my video. I think if you put your mouse on your camera, you see the camera thing that I'm pointing to? If you click on it, it should stop it. There we go. Okay, now we got it. All right, so now let's get started. J150, Introduction to Criminal Law. And tonight I'm going to cover some of the ground rules, and I do encourage everybody to that's not able to attend to save the archive of this because it's going to be something that you might want to refer to throughout the whole quarter. Our lectures are going to be longer than an hour because we generally cover 2 chapters, and I do review the materials as well for each week, so it makes it a little longer. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get started with sharing my screen. Okay, so this is the classroom that you see when you first come in. And when you first come in, you'll see my name, my phone number, and then there's a little statement under there. It says, and it means what it says. It's not an error. It is not a statement in jest. I tell students this all the time. Feel free to email me, text, or phone me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. And I always tell students, I said, you can figure that one out yourself if you know how many hours in a day. I have students that say, did you really mean that? I says, I mean everything that I put in here. So you want to make sure you follow that. In addition, I want to remind you that this additional course information that you are required to conduct research okay, you know what? This actually is incorrect. I got to fix this one because you're required to do research for all assignments except week 4 hostage. That's not correct. I'm going to have to fix that. What it means is basically, and you're going to see me correct that, is that I want you to do research anytime you do an assignment. It's very important. If you use just a textbook, you're going to lose 2 points. Now that's not on it's not going to be on your rubric, but it is in addition to your rubric, but it's right up in front. So I'm going to fix this because this applies to another class. And I think when I copied it, I just copied it from the wrong class. All the written assignments should be in APA format. That means citations in the body of the paper and references at the end. Very, very, very important. And then you go down further, and it gives, obviously, this information, which you know already, the link for our lectures, and about the open house that's taking place right now. And our live lectures will be every other Tuesday, starting with next Tuesday. And so that'll be the even weeks, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And they'll run about an hour and a half, sometimes a little longer than that, but pretty close to an hour and a half. I'm going to try to keep them within that this quarter. Last quarter, sometimes I went longer, but I'm going to try to keep them within that because it's very important that you get a review that takes place. If I took the review out, I'd probably cut out 20 minutes. But a lot of the students like the review because I go over the assignments. And then since you're having your lectures on Tuesdays, and you will discover some clarification for assignments that are due. Now, let's go straight to the syllabus. Well, no, before we do that. These are announcements. Again, I give you one announcement that I put in here to help you with your APA, and then what the writing process involves. That's very important to help you in case you run into problems. And then here is our week 1 announcement, which tells you what the assignments are for this week. Now, here's the deal. I want to point this out to you. It tells you what chapters. I did send you some information. Every week I will be sending you the PowerPoints. So this week I sent you chapters 1 and 2, which you'll see for a few minutes during tonight from the textbook. And I'll usually discuss those in lecture. I won't go over those in detail tonight. And then go over these activities. There's some activities in the chapter, and you want to look at those activities because they will help you. They're not graded, but they're things that help you. And then it tells about our lectures. Now, this week, the discussion assignment is Military Tribunal, Hamilton versus Rumsfeld. Now, it says that the deadline for initial post is 11:59 p.m. Tuesday. That's the way it normally is. However, and I sent an email to you telling you this, that actually this week, because we started with a holiday on Monday, that we will be extending that to Tuesday. So, to Wednesday. So your posts don't have to be in by tonight. They have to be in though by tomorrow night, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then a reply post by this Saturday. So the normal course, though, is going to be, and you'll see when we get to the calendar, it's going to be Tuesdays for initial posts, Tuesdays for initial posts, and Saturdays for reply posts. And again, it's based on Central Standard Time. I have students all over the country, but it's based on the time where my classroom is located and where I'm located. Now, then the written assignment, representation of the indigent, and then the quiz, and then there's not a written assignment, but you'll be completing a course project. So we're going to go over the introduction this week that you'll have, that'll be done from that particular point. And let's see, I'm trying to think, is this actually the written assignment course project? I don't think so, but we're going to go over it in a few minutes. And then remind you of the open house. And then this is my motto that you'll see over and over. Adversity is the springboard to success. At some point during the quarter, I will explain that motto to you more in terms of my experiences, in addition to what I've already shared with you. And then you already have this. We got the welcome announcement, which told you a little bit about me. And these things are very important that you follow these things that are written in the welcome announcement. And that, again, reminds you of our lectures that take place, okay? So that's the announcement portion. Every week, you will see one announcement. Sometimes you'll see two, but most of the time, it'll be one announcement, and it'll give you your assignments for the beginning of the week. Those will be posted at the beginning of the week, and you'll see those. Now, let's look at the syllabus. The syllabus for this class, again, I got to correct that business about hostage, because the research for week 4 assignment, that's not it. Your research is going to have to be every week, as I said. And then also, I also point out to you that the APA requirements as well is in this as well. You'll see sometimes I duplicate stuff because I have it all over the place. Gives you information about who I am, my phone number, my email address. You'll also discover that I have a personal email, which when I sent out my welcome, I gave you that information. So now let's look at the course. The course textbook, you know what that is. You should have that already. And it's actually in the classroom that you'll be able to access it digital. And then these are your requirements. As again, I say, usually it says discussion posts Tuesday by midnight, but it's really 11:59 p.m. And then that's on Tuesdays. And then Saturdays for the reply posts, which we talked about a few minutes ago. But remember, I said the exception is for this week because of the start. Then your written assignments are all due on Sundays by 11:59 p.m., except when we get to the final week. But we got a ways to go there. But trust me, it'll come pretty fast, okay? Now, here's some things I want to take a few minutes. I keep hitting this thing. Okay, here we go. Notice the point system that's broken down. Notice how important it is to complete these assignments. They're very important. All right? So your total points consist of discussions, 110. And the reason is because you get a 5-point for initial posts, 5-point for reply posts that are done properly. You want to make sure you do them on time. You want to make sure that your posts are not, you know, like just one-liners. I like to see references and citations, but I won't deduct points if you don't. But I want to see you comment. So your discussion initial post is due normally. Again, I repeat, on Tuesday, but this week it's due on Wednesday. And then your reply post on Saturday. Now, I will be grading those, and so The percentage that you want to obtain is 10%. That means you turn your post in on time. And by the way, you are required only to post one initial post and one reply post, but I encourage reply posts to as many of your classmates as possible. The more the merrier, because it makes a discussion forum. Now, I will say this about discussion posts, and you'll see this later, but I'm going to just tell you now. The discussion posts have to be posted by the end of that discussion week. For example, discussion week technically ends Saturday, 11:59 p.m. But if you post on Sunday a reply post, I've been generous enough to take a point away. But if you post it on Monday, you're not going to get any points because we're starting another week. So I've had students that sometimes do that, and I tell them I can't do that, and you can't make up discussion posts once the week is over. Written assignments. Now, written assignments generally are 20 points. So you're going to have a written assignment every week, and it's going to constitute 21.2%. We're going to go over the details of that. And then 6 weeks, you're going to have course projects. Those are a total of 100 points. Notice what happens. This is where people mess up. They don't get these done well, and they end up losing over half of the points that are necessary for them to get a good grade. So let's say you did everything well, but you didn't do the course projects for those 6 weeks. Almost 58% of your grade is going to be added into that, and that's not good if you miss that. So your course projects, and again, like I said, you only have 6 weeks that you do it, and we're gonna cover that in just a few minutes. The key thing that I want you to do is to end up right over in here, A plus, B, B, B. Here's something I want to tell you, and I've had a couple students to take me up on it, but I tell them I don't answer it. Never call me and ask me, what does it take to get a C in your class? I will never tell you that. I will never answer it for you. And the reason is because I'm not producing a student who's a C student. I'm producing A and B students. And my goal is A students, but again, I'm not going to give you assistance in terms of guidance. And there are students who will say to me, okay, I'm behind, I need to catch up. How much do I have to turn in before I get a certain grade? I said, I'm not going to tell you that because I don't have time to be doing all that calculation. The bottom line is that's your responsibility to check your grades, okay? Now, very, 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 very important. I will be communicating with you. It says that all messages within 48 hours. I usually respond pretty fast to emails. I respond fast to phone calls. I respond fast to text messages. There have been times that students have called me late at night to find out that I'm up very late. And so you feel free. You will never, I've never had a student that had a complaint that said, Professor Wright doesn't contact me very fast. Sometimes one time a student did say that. He says, I sent him a message, and an hour later I hadn't heard from him. And the school told him, you know, did you read what the policy is? I don't usually go 48 hours, okay, because I constantly check my mailbox. I don't like my mailbox full of, my inbox has a lot of stuff in it. My contact information is on the syllabus, and then now it says conduct a synchronous learning session, which means this, a live lecture. Today I'm conducting a live lecture. Theoretically, I could do just that lecture and not do lectures week 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 and satisfy all the requirements. But I don't operate on that basis. I like to be there to guide and help my students throughout the quarter. Therefore, and I get poor attendance for these lectures. It's unfortunate. Sometimes I never get a student that attends. because you're not graded on whether you attend or not. But if myself personally as a student, I would attend as many as I possibly can, because you can gain more information firsthand. You can even ask a question. Once the question is, the recording is done, you can't ask the recording a question. So anyway, the bottom line is that I take it upon myself to do these extra lectures. I used to do them every week, but I stopped because of the poor attendance. And so I decided and made a call myself, which my dean and a lot of the administration know that how committed I am to connecting with my students. Very important to me. It's very important that I produce successful students. And then actively facilitate class discussions, and I do that by responding to at least 2 posts every week. Sometimes it'll be yours, sometimes it'll be another student. Now, one of the things that we want to try to influence our students with in this school is to provide what we call transferable skills. And these are skills that mean as you produce a professional person, they should have these skills. They should be able to provide them. Well, in our classes, we encourage communication, critical thinking. Critical thinking, you'll hear that word a whole lot this quarter. Critical thinking is very simply not just taking the material, but also elaborating on it, giving your thoughts on it, giving your views, challenge it, but then provide some support for what you challenge and why you don't agree. Don't just say, I don't agree with something. Elaborate on it, more details. Our idea is what we want to get you to use your brain, not just to take the material and go through it, but we want you to learn how to analyze and take those materials. I am a natural critical thinker. I'm a lawyer, retired lawyer now, but that's what I did. I went through law school a long time ago. 38 years ago, I graduated from Northwestern Law School, as you discovered from my information I submitted. But I am a natural critical thinker, and in our field, criminal justice, critical thinking is very, very, very important. You must learn that we're in the digital time. You're talking to and looking at and hearing an individual who, as I said, 66, we didn't have any of that stuff. However, I am pretty good at it, and so I encourage the millennials, the students of your time, some students who have gone and come back and says, well, I'm trying to get the hang of it. I says, if I can get the hang of it, you can do it. When I first came back to, when I came to teach, 2011 at Rasmussen, I taught residentially. And they actually had me teaching business law, but I told them I was a criminal justice person, and they quickly realized that and pushed me over into that, and I've been in that ever since that time. But my point being is that they came to me and says, we're going to start doing online teaching more, and you're in our discipline. And so I had to go through training, and I keep constantly going through training, learning more and more and more. I have learned very well. I have this thing right here, this cell phone right here, this Galaxy S7 Edge. I get your messages sometimes when you send them to my personal email on here. You could text me, it'll show up on here. If you call me at the 630 number, it'll show up on here as well. The point of the matter is I have learned how to do it, and we encourage you because you're in a digital society. Everything is technologically savvy. Diversity and teamwork. First of all, with diversity, we learn to respect the views of others. There are people who will write papers. They will make comments on the discussion posts, and I don't agree with them. But I'm not going to grade you. I'm not going to hold it against you. Our idea is to have an open forum without any repercussions about your position. Now, we do ask that you don't use obscenity, and we also ask that you don't shoot down somebody else's position. You can disagree without being crass about it, and you don't have to put another person's views or position down or their beliefs and so forth and so on. We have a whole lot of discussions about the Second Amendment which involve guns. We have discussions about abortion. We have discussions about sometimes even religion that will pop up in some of our classes that I teach. And the point of the matter is we appreciate everybody's views and positions. And then the other thing is teamwork. You're going to be working in teams. You might as well get used to it because that's how you're going to be operating in the real world. And everything is teamwork, so we encourage teamwork. That's how we bring discussion forum together and get students to communicate with each other. There are many students who haven't gotten to know each other since you're in different parts of the country. Sometimes you get to know a person in another part of the country who's studying the same field or discipline that you are. So we encourage teamwork. Ethics. I can just beat this to death. We must be ethical in this field. There's one of the problems that exists now is that we have a lot of ethical challenges. And I'm going to tell you, I produce students that are ethical. I've taught criminal justice and ethics, medical law and ethics, and business and ethics. And then I'm also a pastor of a church. And so I operate on the basis of ethics. And it's very, very, very important in our discipline. If you violate your ethics, you can ultimately find yourself in hot water in some shape, form, or fashion. There's a number of law enforcement people who have found themselves because they have engaged in unethical practices. And then the code of silence, or people not talking about each other, is coming down, that wall of silence, because we must have trust from the public as professionals. Right now, some people don't feel very good about the law enforcement officers because of some ethical issues. Now, sure, you're dealing with some bad people sometimes, but still, we still have to operate ethically. Very, 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 very important. So then, on a professional responsibility basis, there are things that we must follow, the codes and standards of our agencies, departments, the laws of the community, and so forth. Now, my goal is to produce students who are ethical, professional, and responsible. Ethical, professional, and educational. I encourage education. I am a guru of education. I have nearly 4 degrees, and I tell students some of those degrees were attained in my 50s. And so I tell people, keep studying, keep learning. And I am involved in what's called continuing education, where I'm constantly learning new things in law enforcement and criminal justice that I bring back to my students as well, because you're going to be doing that once you're out there in the real world. Now, regarding ethics, someone said to me, a student will say to me, well, this happened or that happened, that's why I didn't get my assignment in. I believe you. I believe if you had a death in your family. I believe if you were sick and so forth. I believe in things. And I'm not, and then a student said, well, I'm going to submit a note. No, don't submit me a note, because once again, I'm going to operate on the honor system. And if you appear to be dishonorable, you're going to eventually find yourself possibly out of class, out of school, and then if you make it past that, then you're going to become a person who gets into trouble in your professional career. So I'm going to just encourage you to tell me like it is. Don't lie to me about things, because I'm not going to be investigating and following up on things. Now, I will watch a pattern. I will see a pattern. Attendance policy, I'm not going to comment on that. That speaks for itself. Now, I do want to comment about the late submission policy. It says students may submit assignments up to 7 days after the deadline, so 1 week. But you'll lose 10% for each day. So let's say if you have, if you lose 10% of a grade and your grade is 100, and you lose 10 points each day, by the time you got to the 4th day, you'll be 60, and you won't be 60. What's a 60? 60 is F, okay? So you'll be at that point. So what I'm saying to you is that it is very important. Now, I do have the rights to deviate from those. You know, says instructors may waive the late penalty in extenuating circumstances as determined by the faculty. That's me. So I have the power. And I'm pretty fair with students. I've never had a student that said, oh, I didn't give them a break. I've given breaks to students because my key thing is get the assignments done. But I'm telling you what the policies are. And when I finally do come down on you, it's going to happen, okay? In some cases, certain activities such as labs, exam, well, we don't have those kinds of things in our classes, okay? In no circumstances may students submit work after the last day of the academic term unless an incomplete has been granted. Well, we are ways from that. So anyway, the key thing that we want to point out to you is the academic integrity. Plagiarism. Now, let me explain something to you while you're looking at this, because I had a student to try to take me up on this. We use a system called Grammarly. And Grammarly is a system that you as a student have you have a Grammarly account. Each student has a free Grammarly account, and it's located in your module. It tells you how to get it. What we do is we run your papers through this system for grammar, but the main thing that we're looking for is plagiarism. Now, you can still provide citations and references and still get plagiarism because you don't have enough critical thinking to go with it. Critical thinking will reduce the percentage of that paper in the Grammarly system. And if you get a percentage, and I'm very generous, some people say, wow, you're above. If you go above 25%, then I used to give zeros. Now what I do is I take, let's say, for example, you get a Grammarly hit of 60%, then I'm going to deduct those 60% from your grade, even if it's on time. And you're going to end up with possibly a 40, which is failing. So it behooves you to make sure that you use Grammarly. If you're not familiar with Grammarly, let me know, and I will direct you to the resources that will help you. But I'm going to comment a little bit about that tonight. So that's it for the syllabus. Do you have any questions about the syllabus or anything I've said thus far? You can type that in. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so now let's go to the course calendar. Here's the calendar for this class. Okay. All right. So now we have for this week laid out our assignment. And again, remember what I said. Your initial post, though it says Tuesday on the calendar, because I sent you the email, you have Wednesday. The reason why I didn't change it on the calendar is because I will be switching this calendar over to the next quarter, and I don't want to throw it off. So I just sent the email letting you know that. However, though, your reply post, again, you'll notice. And then you'll notice, too, that after that, your initial posts are all going to be Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday until you get to week 11. Well, okay, so this week, your assignment that's due on Sunday the 8th, this Sunday, involves representation of an indigent. And again, I remind you, be sure this requires 1 page. Now, this is the only assignment in this class that you'll see that has 1 page. Most of them will be 2 to 3 pages. Then I always remind you about critical thinking, as I said, very, very, very important. And so that's due on Sundays. And then, okay, this gives you an introduction to it. Be sure to review the project overview, which I'm going to do, which gives you requirements of the project. And so I'm getting ready to go over that in just a few minutes. So it's not a written assignment, all right, but it's going to tell you what's coming. And then, of course, every week you will have a quiz. Now, your quiz is going to be 10 questions. I recommend doing the quiz at the end of the week after you've gone through all of the material, but you can do it whichever way you want to. And then when you have completed that, then you'll go and you will, your grade comes in instantly. 10 minutes, it means what it says. And once you start, it keeps going. The clock begins to tick, okay? Every week, I give you your reading assignment as well in this course. So that's your calendar. And anytime you have a question, you can refer to your calendar. It has all the information that you need. Now, let's go to Module 1, which is this week. So now let's talk about what, well, okay, first let's do the assignments, then we're going to go to it. And I already told you, the written assignment for this week is representation of an indigent. So what you are given here are some facts about an individual, and you're going to have to provide the answer to the question about representation for this person who can't afford. When a person is indigent, they can't financially afford an attorney, and an attorney is appointed for you. Now, it says in no more than 1 page, explain some of the issues in this case. Now, a key case is this right here. Eubank Kim versus Falk. And actually, if you go through it, you'll see why I said it. I'm not going to tell you why. When you go through it, you'll see. But anyway, and then there's some key cases that are involved with this, like Gideon versus Wainwright. I'm not going to tell you about that. You're going to have to go and do your research. But make sure that you have the information that you get here. Again, do not just use your textbook. Just using your textbook alone is going to cause you to lose 2 points. I want to see some research. And then I want to see you write some analysis and critical thinking. You can go beyond 1 page. It says no more than 1 page. But in this assignment, 1 page will be satisfactory. Again, don't get comfortable with that. Now let's talk about what's going to happen with the introduction to the written assignment. Now, okay, here we go. Oh, okay. This is, see, you know what? They need to fix this. There is a written assignment for Module 1. And that's what I got to tell them. I got to remind them they got to fix those modules. But here it is. So you got 2 written assignments that's going to be due on Sunday. One is the actual project. For this project, now this is, people always say to me, I don't understand this. So I'm going to take the time right now. Here's what I'm going to tell you. For this part, consider this scenario. Alan, Betty, and Charlie, which is ABC. You're going to get to know them very well. These facts right here, you're going to take from these facts and you're going to apply each of these terms. An indictment. You're going to define what an indictment is. You're going to provide a source of research and information that tells where you got the information about an indictment. By the way, speaking of research and sources, never use Wikipedia. Never use Wikipedia. If you do, you're going to lose points for it. I'm saying it up front. Many students already know why, but the reason is because it's a word-based source. It is very unreliable. Anyone can change the information on it. Never use Wikipedia as a resource. So anyway, you're going to take each of these terms and how it applies in these facts. Each one. each one. And then you're going to make sure the difference between state and federal courts. So this is going to be part of your assignment. It's going to be 2 to 3 pages. 2 to 3 pages. Again, like I said, I got to go back and fix that because the fact that the way that they lay this out, it doesn't look like it's an assignment. Okay, so you want to. It's an introduction assignment, but this is an introduction because you're going to be heavily involved with terminology in your quizzes as well as in these classes. Somebody said, well, this is a tough course. Yeah, because law involves a lot of terms and concepts involved, and I'll try to help you through it as much as I can. So this assignment, applying the facts. Then somebody says, well, what do I have to do with these terms up here? I just told you. Apply them to the facts by stating what an indictment is and how it applies here in this situation. And you're going to get that information from somewhere. Because if you're an expert, you shouldn't be in this class. You should be teaching this class. And because you're a student, you're going to have to provide the information. If I was writing a paper on this myself, I would give sources of research to support my statements. So you're going to do that on each of these positions. And then there is a difference between the outcome in state and federal courts. You're going to have to do that research. Okay. So then you have your discussion post. I already told you about it, and then you have your quiz. Okay, now let's go back to the lesson content. In the lesson content, you're going to see something that this thing keeps hitting. Again, it gives you what your assignments are. Course project, I already told you that. Discussion, and then your quiz. And then remember I said there's no activities in there. You need to look at these because it gives you information. What is a crime? Read this. Constitutional protection. Read that. State versus federal courts. Remember that's part of your assignment. Right to counsel. I already told you about one case here. And right to grand jury and jury trial. These kinds of things. Military tribunal, because you're going to deal with homicide. Now, so you're going to know what that is involved. You're going to do some research, provide you information. Then you're going to complete these activities, do these drag and drops. I'm just going to show you a couple of them. The constitutional distribution of government power and responsibility between the national government and the states. Anybody have any ideas about what that is, which one this would be? You can type it in if you know. Think it's separation of powers. If it pops back, that's not it. Now that's the one that you always pick, but it's actually this one. That's it. And then the constitutional assignment of legislative, executive, and judicial power of different governments. There we go. That's where that goes. Evil in itself. Evil in itself. The doctrine of deciding cases based on precedent, stare decisis. I know these answers. So anyway, the point of the matter is you're going to go through these and do these yourself. And you will learn and pay attention to the answers because they will help you. Now, in the bottom, it explains to you what assignments that you have. Okay, here's where the clarification comes in. This is the timeline. Remember I told you had 6 earlier for 600 points when I was discussing the syllabus. And the due dates you already know, which is Sundays, 11:59 p.m. So in week 1, where you're articulating the foundation of the criminal justice system based on that assignment that I just told you a few minutes ago, the 2 to 3 pages, using those terms. You won't have one in week 2. You'll have one in week 3. And then notice what happens. Once you finish with week 3, you won't have any more until the last 4 weeks of the quarter, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that's why it is important that you don't fall behind. And like I said again, each of these are worth 100 points. Each of these for a total of 600 points. Okay? And 2 to 3 pages. And must include citations and references. Now, you don't just throw one citation and one reference, because this is a project. And so therefore, you should have more than one. But I mean, it's very important, very important. And like I said again, the textbook alone is not adequate. Okay? Says there will be 5 individual assignments along the way that comprise the project. Actually, it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and it says 5, there should be 6, because it is 6 individual assignments. Week 1, week 3, week 8, week 9, week 10, and week 11. Okay. So those are the assignments for this week. So now, any questions from either of you, Eric or Ruby? Okay. Okay. And make sure that you type in publicly rather than privately, so that everybody can see it. Somebody saying something?
I was going to just say about the discussion. Do we get like a code or something to put in the discussion?
Say it again.
Do we get like a code or something that when we do the discussion, do you have like do we need to put something in discussion on this, on your, what am I trying to say? Okay, when we have discussion, do we put something in there that we've attended your the discussion?
No. The discussion is the discussion forum.
I'm talking about when
you mean these live lectures?
No, when it says have you attended? No, when we get 5 points. No. The 5 points has nothing to do with the live lecture. You don't get points for attending the lecture. I said that earlier. Okay.
The points, when I say discussion, I'm talking about the discussion assignments that you have. Your discussion posts. You get 5 points for your initial post. You get 5 points for your reply post. You got it?
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, some people think when I say discussion, and I'm glad you asked it that way, because so it can be clear on the tape here, is that when I say discussion, I'm not talking about the lecture. I used to give points for students attending the lecture that they could put in the bank, but I stopped doing that because I had a discussion with somebody in administration. They said, no, that we can't do that, because we can't force you to attend, except if online plus classes, you do have to attend the lectures or either look at the archive. But here's my point, is that these live lectures that I do are for your benefit, to help you to be able to do well, and to help you to perform with your written assignments, and to get the maximum possible grade here. Okay, so now we've got about 10 more minutes, 11 more minutes, and I want to spend the rest of the time. Anyway, did you have either, both of you pretty clear on the written assignments for this week?
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, good. I don't know why. Oh, okay, I know why. I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, okay, you muted and unmuted your mic. That's what you did. All right. All right, so now let's get into some of these things. Now, I sent you these already. I sent you emails, and these are the guidelines for the course project. Now, remember what I said earlier. I told you what you had to do. Now, 2 to 3 pages in length, 5 points. You'll lose 5 points if your paper is less than 2 pages. Define the various terms. Remember I told you that. You'll lose 30 points if you don't. Apply the terms to the facts. You'll lose 30 points for that. And then identify the difference between federal and state court, and then satisfy the APA requirements. That's how you get your 100 points for your first assignment. So students who ask me, I said, go back and look at the this guideline that I gave you. This is your rubric. This is how I'm going to be grading you. When you lose points, you'll see why. You'll know why. I'll even tell you. And then we go to week 3. Same thing. It'll tell you what your project title is, and then it'll tell you 2 to 3 pages, and it will give you a breakdown for how to get 100. And then it goes all the way to week 8. Okay, so that is how that works. Page 2, that's week 8. Then you got 9, 10, and then the last week, which is on page 3, week 11. So that's the course project. So I've given you a guideline to help you to make sure. So if I were you, I would take that and say, okay, when I do my paper, let's go back to page 1. I'll say, is my paper 2 to 3 pages in length? Not counting the cover sheet, not counting the reference page. Did I define the various terms in the project? Did I provide sources to indicate? Because you don't know those terms off the top of your head. You're going to research, and you're going to provide the source that you use for that information. Apply the terms to the facts. Identify the difference between, notice if I don't see this, look at what happens. If I don't see you include the difference between state and federal court, you could end up with 70, even if you provide citations and references, because you'll lose 30 points. So it's very important that you use it. This is a tool that I've given you, and I emailed it to everybody, and all of you guys should have. Do you have that, Eric and Ruby? Did you get the rubrics that I sent you?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, Eric, you got it too? Yep, good. All right, so now that's for that. Now, every week you will have a written assignment, and I've sent the same thing to you for that. Representation of an indigent. Now, notice I said 1 page in length. If you don't have 1 page in length, you're going to lose a point. And you're going to have to cover all of these points. Then if you don't use APA, you're going to lose 3 points. So let's say you don't use APA. You don't satisfy APA, and you don't have the length. So you're going to lose 4 points, so you'll have 16 points. Notice what I said. The rest of them are 2 to 3 pages in length. So the key thing is to answer these things. So you have a real good idea about what I'm expecting you to do, and then you have a chance to review it yourself. Now, are you both familiar with Grammarly? Are you familiar with Grammarly? Okay. Okay, Eric is not. I'm going to, at the end, go over Grammarly just for a minute. All right, but first I'm going to just show you this. So now, these are your guidelines. Every week, you will receive your PowerPoints. You got this week. And I will go through these as quickly as I can and cover each and every one. Okay, I will make sure. All right. And then here is something that I provide to students. Now, this is some additional material. This is really neat. This is to help you as a student to get a gauge on your chapter. When I was in school years ago, we used to have this thing called Cliff Notes. Cliff Notes were kind of like a summary of the chapter, an outline of the chapter, and this is what I give to you. This is I voluntarily give to every student that every week, and it helps you. If you just peruse this, it will help you to understand your chapter. It breaks it down, gives you key terms that are very important. It tells you some cases that can help you during the course of that. It also gives you some sources for research. While I'm on that, one of the sources for research is a source called it's www. Okay. This is a website you can use for research, and you might want to save that in your favorites or something, because it can help you to find cases and all kinds of things that are very important. So anyway, I provide you with this as well, okay, for each chapter. And then there's your next your PowerPoint, and that I use, and then go through and I'll discuss generally some of the things in there. And the PowerPoints each week usually about 20, something like that, 20 to 21 or something like that. And then the same thing again, you got your organizational stuff. Okay, so now, these are the things that will happen. Every week you will get these PowerPoints. I will be sending to you, even on off weeks when we don't have lectures. Okay, so now let's go back to the classroom. Okay, now what I want to do is to go back to sharing. I want to take you back before I conclude. Okay, now let me move this out of the way. In your course, in your class, at the top, you'll see resources. So this is for the benefit of Eric, but and everybody else. Resources. If you click on resources, it's going to open up library resources. And it tells you about APA Guide. Then you see Grammarly. You click on Grammarly to set up an account. You click on that, and it explains to you how to set up your Grammarly account. Okay, you're gonna create one first. Okay, now here's the deal. I want to take you back a little bit to that. I'm going to show you something. It says if you want to create an account, click here for instructions. Okay, I did that already. The one I was looking for was the one that, let's see, whoops. I shut it out. I got to get back to it. Give me a minute. Let me log back into the Blackboard. So I'm looking for, oops, what happened? Let's go back to now let's get back into the classroom again. All right. So now let's go to resources. Okay. Let's see, they might have changed this some. Because before they had the account, they had a password and all of that for Grammarly. Let me see. I'm going to show you how to. If you already have a Grammarly account looking for Grammarly, click here. Oh, okay, here we go. To create a Grammarly account, follow these steps or either go to here. And it tells you, let's see, there's a password. There's a password that I'm looking for, and I don't see it. I know that they've had it in the past. Let me see. So there's a special password that you use that we give to all our students. Let's go back to this. I don't know why I don't see it. I don't see it because I know in the past it would give you, it gives you the code. Sorry about hitting that thing there. I don't understand this because I know in the past, click here. Oh, they must have taken it away. Okay. Okay, then they must have taken it away. Because it used to be a code. I know they made some changes on it. So then that's why. Because it used to be a code that you had to do. So, okay, Eric, yeah, then that's the case. Then but make sure you use your Rasmussen email there. Okay. This is so new. They just did these changes. This is the first quarter they've done this. States on the page that the code is not needed if using. Okay, great. All right. See, I didn't see that. But I know they made some changes to this thing, and that's one of the changes that I didn't know about. So anyway, you want to use that Grammarly check, and then make sure you check for plagiarism and run your paper through it, and it will tell you how to fix that. Make sure you do that before you submit all of your written assignments. You don't have to do that with discussion posts, but with your projects and for your written assignments, I recommend you do that. And so that's about it. Any questions from either of you?
No,
okay.
Thank you for everything.
Okay. All right. So now next week, we will be back here again for our first lecture, and that'll be covering chapters 3 and 4, which I will have sent you PowerPoints already that you could have to follow along with. And during the lecture, we may cover both 3 and 4. We may just cover 3 or part of 4, but we're going to make sure we end in an hour and a half, respecting your time. So I will be sending out an archive of this lecture today for this open house for everyone who didn't attend, including you guys who did attend. I appreciate you coming in to the class. I guess I'm gonna just tell you in a few minutes something that I wanted you to know. I said earlier, and I'm going to take about 5 minutes, 10 at the most to do this. I want you to understand why I am so committed to teaching this area. I was a criminal defense lawyer for many, many years. I represented people as a defense lawyer in all kinds of cases. For a little while, I was a village prosecutor. I also was an internal affairs investigator, became a part-time police officer as well, and I was a paralegal for a while. They didn't call it paralegal back in those days. But let me tell you, and I've done a lot of this stuff for years and years and years. Let me tell you something that I want you to know about me. When I was a kid, at the age of 7 years old, my dad was murdered. And he was murdered in front of my face. It was in the house. It was a domestic issue. And the guy that did it turned out to be my mother's live-in boyfriend. He had a room there in the house. So he killed my dad. It was 7 kids, about 6 kids at that time, 5 girls and me. And I was the oldest in that room. And I have a photographic memory, so I'll never forget it. So the guy did not go to jail because of a legal technicality. He ended up continuing to stay in the house with us. He used to beat my mother after that, physically, profusely, but she would not leave him. And so thus I grew up in a home where domestic violence took place. Well, he ended up fathering 2 more girls. So thus I had 7 sisters, and then I was the oldest. So by the time I was 13 years old, he murdered my mother. When they murdered her, he was sentenced to 10 years. 10 years by law meant 5. And they further told me that he was probably going to serve 3.5 years at the most. And I was 14 by this time, so I was very, very troubled. And I asked people, you know, what this is not right, what do I do? Finally, someone told me, I said, that's just the way the legal system works. And so I said, tell me about the legal system. And they said, well, it's run by lawyers or attorneys. I went to the library and got a basic book on attorneys, read it from cover to cover in one night, and then anybody I met the next day after that, I would tell them, my name is Richard Wright, and I'm going to be a lawyer. And I proceeded. 14 years later, I graduated from Northwest University School of Law. It wasn't an easy road for me. I worked. I got married right out of high school, came up with kids that are now 45 and 44. And then I graduated from law school, and then I had another daughter. She was 38. But all during this time, I didn't have a car. I studied on the L train. I used to have to get up and work 40 hours at the law firm, where I started out in the mailroom. And when I got in the mailroom of this big law firm, I told them I wanted to be a lawyer. And they took me up on it, so I became a file clerk. And then I became a law librarian. And then they found out I knew how to research, so I became what's called a law clerk, and now it's a paralegal. And all this while I was going to school at night at a school called Luke College or Harold Washington City College of Chicago, junior college, and then Roosevelt University, where I graduated in 1975 and got accepted in the Northwest University School of Law. And so throughout my career, I've defended murderers, and I learned so much about the system. I was very good. I never lost a jury because I knew how to relate to people. And then my photographic memory helped me a lot. So along the way, I found myself going to seminary, becoming a minister as well, and now I pastor a church as well. And so anyway, I went back to school when I was 50 to get MBA, 53, to challenge kids. Because I always like to learn. So I am a person who likes to learn, and I like to impart wisdom and knowledge to students as well. So now you understand why I say in my motto, at the end of every lecture, every announcement, you'll see adversity is a springboard to success. Yours truly knows adversity, and it launched me to become who I am today. I empathize with people who go through a lot of challenges in life. All of my students will tell you that I am one of the professors that they can always bounce things off of because of the fact that I'm here to be of complete service to you. Even after graduation, I got students that communicate with me. I write letters of recommendation for them. I have done a lot of different things because it's a life commitment. So that's why I said earlier that my goal is to produce professional, ethical, and educational criminal justice professionals. I want people to be protected well. I want police officers to do the right thing. I want all law enforcement parties. I teach corrections. I will teach in 2 sections this quarter. I've had a number of correction officers that now exist that I have taught down through the years, some probation officers, some parole officers, some federal agents, you name it. I have had some contact in terms of working with them. So that I wanted to take a few minutes and just share with you so that you'll understand why I am so adamant about teaching this. And so you have a professor who not just knows it from the professional perspective, but from the personal perspective. And one of my students, Wright, wrote an awesome paper on domestic violence, and it was just out of sight. By the way, as a defense attorney, I could defend murderers, I could defend robbers. I didn't represent many rapists because I had all those sisters, and now I have 6 daughters and 2 sons, and so I didn't do that. So then the other thing is that I couldn't represent people in domestic violence as a defense attorney because of those things, but I could represent people in drug cases and all kinds of cases. So I know the law from prosecution and defense. I know it from the law enforcement perspective. I know it from the defense perspective. So that's who you have here. So again, I want to thank both of you guys for being here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you in our lectures week 2, week 4, week 6, week 8, and then in week 10. And then you know how to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. So I'm going to say good night to both you, Ruby and Eric, and to everyone else. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to end the meeting. You're welcome.